Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, Director of Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about burnout because I've been really pushing myself quite hard the past week or so, and it's starting to feel like I'm starting to feel the negative impacts of doing so much and trying to put too much on my plate. And I wanted to kind of take a breather and just kind of explain what can happen when you do try and do too much and how you can try and balance your life, because as we all know, if you don't have a solid work-life balance, then you're going to end up quite an unhappy person. Even the most workaholic type of person needs that downtime in order to be able to really do the best that they can and to really make sure that they achieve their goals in the best possible way. Because from previous experience, I have really overestimated my own capabilities, and that's led to a lot of scrambling around to try and just about get everything finished, and it leads to a very unsatisfying life where you're just kind of working for the sake of it. And like, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. In 2018 I worked at a job where I had to do 72-hour weeks, and that was 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and by the end of the fifth day I was absolutely knackered. I hated that job, and it was quite a physical job as well. There was a lot of moving stuff and like that kind of thing. It wasn't just an office job, so it was a very physical bit of activity, and so I was left tired all the time, and whenever I was outside of work I felt like I couldn't enjoy my own life because all of what I was doing was going towards this job. And after a while you start to forget that you're even getting paid. You obviously know you are, and that's why you're doing it, but it starts to become an afterthought to just the generic grind. And I think there's a difference between following your passions and just grinding them out. And I wanted to use this kind of sort of setup where I'm kind of, whoa, like that. You're gonna get a few of those, right? And there's that going on, so it's quite intense, you know? And so, yeah. So there's people over there that are kind of asking if I'm all right, which is a good metaphor for real life, because if you are working so hard and you know the signs of burnout are visible, you can see the bags under someone's eyes. You can see when they're a little bit frantic and a little bit manic, and like they're going so quickly, their mind is rushing all the time, and their mind never slows down. It doesn't get a chance to slow down. It's almost like the person isn't allowing their own mind to slow down. And if you do go at things that fast, think of it kind of like a car, right? I know if you drive a car like quite fast, you get to go in a higher gear, and if you're in a higher gear, that means you're slightly more fuel efficient, right? But there gets to a point where you start to drive dangerously. If you're driving at like 110 miles an hour for a long time down a motorway, even if you're going down the Autobahn where there's no speed limit, you don't want to be going down that Autobahn at like 110 miles an hour all the time, because you're going to come to traffic at some point, and you can't just speed your way through that. And traffic in this example is just your own mental state. You know, there will be times when you're driving down the road and it kind of feels like there's nothing that can stop you and you're invincible and you can take the world on, you know? And then you might come to some traffic, and it might be a real event that happens that quite humbles you, a failure that makes you sit back, slow down and take stock, or it might just be a mental fatigue. And if it's either of those things, you have to slow your car down. You can't keep driving at 110 miles all the time, because if you do, you are going to crash, and you really don't want that to happen. I suppose crashing in this context wouldn't be nearly as bad as if you had crashed an actual car going at 110 miles an hour, because that would be pure death. This would just be a mental crash. And I've crashed mentally many times before because I've tried to put too much on my plate. And I'm sure you have as well. And I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you might be thinking of times when you have done that, and you know, maybe you romanticize that quick pace when you were driving the car super fast, and now you're maybe driving at 30-40 miles an hour, you know, and you're kind of thinking, I'd like to get back to that, and I'd like to figure out how to stabilize it and how to do that thing in a way without having to resort to this mania, with this you know, overworking myself and you know, over-expecting with your expectations, with trying to do too much with not enough. And it's a very real problem. And it's a problem that, you know, gets talked about, but in the sort of way like, ooh, you can do it, you can do it, you can get back on the horse. And yes, you can get back on the horse. But I think it's very important to know that once you're on the horse, you need to learn how to ride that horse in a very safe way so that you can actually go forwards and achieve your goals in the long run, because this is what it's all about. You're trying to achieve your goals in the long run, and you're trying to, you've got, you know, your little goals that you come across along the way. Say if, for instance, me doing this film, Johnny Moz's Lessons in Confidence, the main goal is to finish the film, right? But along the way, there are little goals. Like I had to go do the costume design thing with Eva. I had to go meet various people, the producers and the directors and the writers and stuff like that. And I had to go meet them and have a talk with them. And that was a little achievement. And then I had to go and do the first day filming, the second day filming. And those are all little achievements. I had to, you know, buy little bits of equipment and here and there. And that's a little achievement. You know, I have to come out and do these videos. That's a little achievement, you know. These little achievements along the way keep you going for the big achievement, right? Which is finishing the film. In your case, it might be, I don't know, maybe you want to change careers from one thing to the other. And in order to do that, first you need to maybe get a qualification. You might need to go on a course, and you need to do every day of that course, and you need to study and all that kind of stuff. And then once you've studied, then you need to start applying to jobs in this field, and you maybe need to do some volunteer work so you can get some experience in this industry that you're trying to break into. That kind of thing. So you need those little goals along the way. And as long as you are managing your goals realistically, then you can stay on the horse in a fairly stable manner. But if you don't do that, you will end up falling off of the cliff, right? Which is, I think this is why this is such a fun metaphor, because I could fall off this at any moment if I lose my balance. And that's part of what life is. It's a balancing game, and it's about trying to make sure that you can actually do things in the most efficient way possible, but also in the most holistic way possible, so that you're actually getting things done properly rather than just rushing things for the sake of it, for the sake of trying to get it done. You don't want to just go through life just trying to get stuff done, because then what was the point of getting that thing done in the first place if it doesn't further a certain goal? If you're just doing stuff to do stuff, then you might as well have stayed home. You might as well have just done nothing, you know? And as long as you're furthering your life aspirations, and as long as you're getting to a place where you want to be, then you are making progress. And as long as you're making progress, then you're doing good. And not every day needs to be a huge day where you make so much progress. And if you try and expect that, then you are going to fail, and you're going to burn out, and then you're going to end up having days where you do nothing, and you end up kind of resenting yourself for it. And that is the really dangerous downward spiral. If you start resenting the fact that you're not getting enough done, then you end up getting less done because you're getting yourself so down over it, and you start feeling like you can't get back on the horse because, you know, you're in such a state that you can't ever get that again. When you can get that again, and it's quite easy to get back on the horse. You just do little things along the way. You do little steps. Even if you do one small thing today to further your goals, you know, even if it's something basic like, I don't know, cleaning your house, or, you know, making sure you actually go out and go to the gym today. Maybe it's, you know, you want to do some writing, but you haven't done writing in a while, and you feel a bit rusty, and you feel like everything you write isn't good enough. Why don't you just write something now? You know, maybe keep this video on in the background and, like, you know, just type stuff out. Just type according to your, you know, off the top of your head, and just see what comes out. And something fun might come out from the spontaneity of it, because that's part of what life is as well. If you structure everything, you won't get everything out of it, because, as I've said many times, plans fail. Things turn out differently in real life than how you expect them to, and you need to manage your expectations. And managing your expectations is something that people say a lot, but they never quite explain what they mean. So I'll try and explain what I mean by managing your expectations. So say it's a Monday, and you've got some expectations that you need to fulfill for that week. So first, you need to do your 5 days at your day job. That's something you need to do. Like that, it doesn't matter how much you burn out, you need to do that, right? But then you might want stuff like, you want to start eating healthily. You want to stop buying the frozen pizzas and start making your own food from scratch. You want to get your 5 fruit and veg a day. You might want to quit smoking. You might want to quit drinking. You might want to write something, or get back into drawing, or you know, maybe you're trying to learn the guitar or whatever. You know, you've got that little hobby that you want to further, because the more that you improve at that hobby, the more fun you start to have with it along the way. Like, say, even if you're like playing a video game, for instance, and that's like the thing that you do in your downtime, the more you play the video game, the better you get at it. You know, when you first play a video game and you're trying to understand the nuances of the way this, like some characters are a bit more floaty and some it's a bit more clunky, and that kind of helps because it's different like games for different purposes. You know, maybe, and over time you start to understand those nuances and you start to react to them and you start to improve at the game and you start to do things very, very easily that you were struggling with beforehand. And the more that you kind of do that, the more that you start to enjoy what you're doing because you're getting so good at it. It's the same with learning an instrument. The better you get the instrument, the more fun you start kind of having with it along the way, because you can, like for instance, if I'm playing a guitar solo, I used to play the most god-awful solos. But now I can play some kind of fun solos. I'm not trying to act like I'm bloody Jimi Hendrix or anything like that, but I can make some fun solos. And when I do it, it's like, oh, it's so good. It's so satisfying and it's so much fun. You know, it's so much more fun than when I barely knew how to play the guitar. But I was having fun the entire way. But the fun piles on top of each other in that kind of way. And you want to be having fun with the things that you're doing. And if you're not having even a modicum of fun, then you should readjust your expectations to something else. If something is such a grind for you, like your day job might be a grind for you, I know mine is, but I need to do it because I need to earn money, right? So I go into the day job and I come back out from the day job and I kind of write those hours off as like, that's just time I'm going to be spending doing this certain thing. But along the way, you can surround that part of your day with little extra successes. Like you can get up earlier and have the shower before work as opposed to after, or you can maybe try and get to the gym on the way to your workplace, or maybe you can, you know, sit down and like have a proper nice meal for breakfast rather than like if you're rushing. You don't want to rush out of work because then you get there and you start performing worse because you're not doing right, because you're a bit tired and all that kind of stuff, and your sleep schedule's getting a bit fucked as a result of it. And all these various things, your health, start to make it so that it's harder for you to actually perform in your life and to further your own goals. So managing your expectations, when I try and think about it, is when you're on a high, when you're getting so much done, when you're in that productive state, when you're on the horse, when you're driving that car at 110 miles an hour down the Autobahn with no traffic in sight, know that and be prepared to not slam on the brakes, but to slowly come down from gear 8 to gear 7 to gear 6. And when you're slowing down, have a bit of an idea of, you know, when you want to speed up again, but don't pressure yourself to speed up again. Try and use your slow down time as an opportunity to reflect on the more holistic parts of your life and the more holistic parts of yourself and what makes you you and that kind of thing. It's a good chance to have a bit of a yin and a yang to your own self. So when you're actually driving the car at 100 miles an hour, you're thinking logistically, you're thinking about what you can get done and how you can get it done, and you might be planning your life. You know, I'm going to do this, and 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 that can be quite fun, you know. And then achieving those goals and getting back and sitting down and going, I've achieved everything that I need to do today. Hell yeah. That's a good feeling. You want to try and get that feeling every day, but you can't always achieve the same amount every day. Some days you're at 100% and you can get, say, 10 things done. But some days you're feeling quite crap and you're really drowsy. Maybe you're hungover. Maybe you're just feeling down in general. And you might only be able to get 20% of what you wanted to get done. Maybe you get 0% of what you need to get done. And that can feel very defeating, and it can make you feel really terrible about yourself. And you shouldn't let that sort of thing get you down. You shouldn't put yourself on this, in this trench, dig yourself this trench and then put yourself in it because you're crap and you're terrible and you don't seem to be achieving your goals. Because when you do that, then you're making things harder for yourself when you do have the energy to actually get back up. You don't need to get everything done straight away. You don't need to be productive all the time. And if you chase that all the time, then you are going to burn out and you are going to fall off this metaphor of like standing on the edge, you know. I feel like I'm on the edge quite a lot, right? Because I do have quite a lot that I need to get done. And you might be listening to what I'm saying going, ooh, that's all very well and good, but I actually have things that I need to get done all the time and I'm struggling to actually get them done. And I can't just not do some of them and have a down day and recuperate and refuel and let my horse rest before I get back on it. I can't do any of that. I need to keep going. I need to keep doing things until the bitter end. And sometimes that is something that you've got to do. Sometimes you have to push and push and push. And the main thing is to not do that too many times and to not allow that to be your default state. Because if you let that be your default state, then you're going to be extremely unhappy deep down when you no longer have something to do. When you've finished your million tasks for the day and you finish up. And you might have that, I've got everything done, but tomorrow I've got to do just as much, and the day after I've got to do just as much, and the day after that I've got even more to do because that's a busy day compared to my normal busy days. That's a super busy day. And you end up catastrophizing with what is going to end up happening. What happens? Fuck. What happens if what if something like this happens where you get an unexpected hindrance, like this rock that's just fallen into my eye? Ow. What if something like that happens? What do you do in that situation when you're already carrying so much of the load and you're at that teetering edge? What can you do in that situation? All you can do is over time try and slow down gradually and get yourself to a point where you're not needing to do this all the time. And it might, and I sympathize with people that say have children and they've got like 2 jobs to work and they've got all this sort of thing going on, which is, and they can't slow down, they can't stop, and they have to keep going for the sake of their families, and that's their motivation. And all you can kind of do is to try and improve your mental well-being in order to allow yourself to keep going, because your mental well-being is the fuel that keeps your body moving. Obviously, food and stuff and fixing your diet up will go a long way to improving your mental health. So, that can be a good start. Start getting some Greek yogurt in, start, having oily fish once a week, start, eating fruit and veg all the time, blah, 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 blah. Maybe pack in the crisps and the chocolates and stuff and save that for a very special treat when you've had a really, you've achieved something great. And what can you do if you've got so much that needs to get done and there's no way of getting around it? I would say that you need to just try and relax, because the phrase that I like, and I'll definitely make a video on this exact topic with this as the title, everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end. It's from The Exorcist, and Mark Kermode, the film critic, says it quite a bit, and it's a phrase that really stuck with me. Everything will be all right in the end, and if it's not all right, it's not the end, because it is true. So right now, you probably feel like things aren't all right. You might have issues going on in your life. Maybe your relationship's falling apart. Maybe you feel like your boss is going to fire you at some point, like layoffs are coming. Maybe you feel like your depression is getting worse, and like you start to notice you're getting more anxious around people. Maybe you're becoming more insular a person, and you've stopped talking to your friends as much, and and it feels like you're going to keep going down this path forever. All you can know is that it's not the end, and this isn't your final state, and you're never in your final state, because there's always something else to do. There's always another thing that you can get done. And the more that you go through life balancing the good and the easy with the tough, the difficult, and the stressful, the more well-to-do you kind of will become, and the more stable your own life will kind of become. If you're going through turbulent times and you have a turbulent energy level, you might feel really, 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 really down one day, and then you might be on top of the world the next, and that can feel quite overwhelming because you're not really sure what your own expectations are in terms of how to manage them. And when you are in that kind of state, the best thing to kind of do is to slow down, take stock, and be aware of the issue that's going on in your life that's causing this, and try not to overthink about it, but try not to forget about it completely ever as well, because you can't live in denial of your problems, and you can't fix all your problems in one go. You just need to know that they're there. You need to know that You can sort them out, but there's so many that I can't do them all right now. So you kind of take stock of what's the most important, what's the most urgent, and what's the least important, what's the least urgent. And as long as you kind of do that, you will kind of go through life in a way that feels like you are getting somewhere and you are getting things done. And as long as, you know, you're managing your expectations and making sure that your holistic worldview is staying true to yourself, that you will be the best version of you that you can be, because that's what we're all trying to do. We're all trying to be the best version of ourselves. Not to sound like one of those bloody self-improvement gurus, but you know, it is good to get out there and get to the gym, and it's good to start maybe going for jogs, and it's good to get out of the house as well. Never let yourself stay in the house too much. And it's good to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with a community of your fellow peers. Even if you're a big introvert, you know, getting out there and having done the odd thing in terms of socializing and making sure that your friends and your family are still there and you're staying in touch with them. As you do all this, your life will become easier, and it will feel less like you're in a big scary place and you are in your world. So I feel like to close this off, I'd like to talk about what happens if you were to fall off, right? What was to happen? What would happen, say, if right now you're kind of like, right? What do you do in this situation, right? Because right now I've fallen off this. I was already teetering on the edge, because this as a metaphor was to kind of show, you know, that you can be stressed and you can be trying to make your way along. This is like the beginning of your life, and this is, you know, getting closer and closer and closer to the now, and you've just fallen off, okay? How can I get back up, okay? I can't get up. I can't do it. I'm trying. I can sort of sit like this for a little bit and then, you fall off again. So this can be a very, very frustrating experience, and this can feel like there's no winning, there's no getting back on the horse, there's no, you know, you've crashed your car, so to speak. What do you do? The first thing, if you've got a car, well, you take it to the repair shop, right? Now, that, as part of this metaphor, would be just taking a little bit of time for yourself and trying to get away from the bigger world at large, you know. It's fine to shut yourself off for a little bit of recalibration, but when you start to shut yourself off and you've been doing it for a long time, comes a point when you realize that you need to actually stop, and you need to go out again, and you need to start making sure that you're staying in touch with your outer world and your peers and so on. And now that you've crashed, and this is, in this metaphor, like you've fallen into a deep depression hole, how do you get out of that? There's no easy answer. There's no quick fix to that kind of thing. There's no like magic pill that will make you not depressed anymore. There's no, and even going to the gym isn't going, or doing that kind of standard thing that self-improvement gurus will always tell you to do. It's not like it's going to immediately fix you, because that is something that's its own grind, and it can take something out of you as well, and it can stress you out. And like if you start to fall off it a little bit, then you can, you know, and then you've fallen off from here, and it's like, and then I've fallen even further, right? So you need to get back up to this point so that you can get back up to up here. And there doesn't seem like there's any way of doing it. All you can really do is just be comfortable in your situation, even if your situation is incredibly uncomfortable. And I know that can sound quite naive, particularly if you're having an extremely hard time of things. Say if you're, I don't know, in an abusive relationship, or you're in an abusive household, or you know, you're working 3 jobs to try and provide for your family, and you're getting up at like 5 in the morning and then getting back at 11 at night, and then having to help with like bits around the house and that kind of thing. And maybe it feels like your marriage is falling apart as a result of all that. This isn't necessarily advice that I can only hope it applies to you, but this is kind of more for young people that are unsure of their place in the world and where to begin. and in an overall sort of context. So all you can really do is you can get to this point, if you can get to sort of here, then you can try and climb, and you're failing, right? You're failing time and time and time and time again. Maybe you get up like this and you realize that there's no further that you can go because this is a dead end. This isn't somewhere that can progress. So you're gonna have to change course. If you're trying something and it's not working, there's no point trying it again but harder, because the more times that you throw yourself at the wall, the more times that you're gonna fall flat on your face. And the more times you fall flat on your face, the less that you're able to push for the burn and actually get up on this thing, you know? So you can't get up like this. You need to get back to your original state. Where were you when you first got up here? How did you get up here? Well, presumably, I'm actually stuck now. Presumably, you started off in a situation where you were doing okay. You were doing all right at some point in the past, and now you're not. And you're trying to get back up, and you're wondering, how can I actually do that? How can I get back up there? It all seems so difficult. All you can really do is you can go back to the beginning and try again from scratch. So in that regard, you would have to do something like this. Back in a sec, here we are. So that was a very quick version. But in this, you would have to take some time away, take some time for yourself, and actually use that time to develop your being and your soul and your deeper inner self, and get a good grasp on who you are. Because if you don't have a grasp on who you are, then you can't grasp life by the nettles without getting stung. And you won't be able to progress because you'll be constantly there trying to do the same thing again and again. And I don't know how to quite close this off. I just know that the world can be a big scary place sometimes, and all you can try and do is carve out that part for yourself that you can reside in. You need that space, say your car or your horse, or whatever the metaphor is that you want to use. This is a very metaphor-heavy video. I hope you've kept up with all these metaphors. All you can do is try and carve that space out for yourself and say, clean your car, which is probably a metaphor for like clean your house and your living space so that you're living in something that you can feel comfortable in. And then try and make your home life as good as you can possibly make it. And then move on to trying to improve your, logistical, semi-career, aspirational goals, because those are the ones that you're trying at so hard, and they're the ones that cause the downfall. And as long as you take it slow, you take it easy, and you do things at a pace that you're comfortable at, then you'll be able to stay up here for quite a long time. And if you do fall down again, then you'll know how to get back around, and you'll know how to get back to where you started. Have you ever had something that was, say, really wore on your mind, right? And you kind of solved that issue, and then that issue might have come back again a couple of years later, and you remember how you felt about it at the time, but maybe it feels a little bit better. It's almost like your mental immune system has kicked in, and it's figured out how to make this issue not such a big deal to you. Like, it's a healing, essentially. Like, if someone brings up something that was really traumatic to you right at the time of it happening, that's very different to them bringing it up, say, 10 years later when you're comfortable discussing it in a safe space. So as time goes on, you'll be able to go around and get back up here easier and easier every single time, and it will become part of your routine almost to fall down and get back up. And with that, I'm going to leave you all because I need to figure out my own way down. Forgetting this as a metaphor, I need to figure out how to actually get myself down because I don't want to jump again, that kind of hurt. And thank you so much for watching this. I hope you have a great day and a great life. And I hope that this has been useful to you in some way. I know it was a bit of a rambly kind of video, and I know a lot of these videos are quite rambly, but I hope that you can kind of get something out of the various paths that we take together to come to these conclusions and to these answers. Thank you so much for this opportunity to listen to me go on and on and on. That's an opportunity for me, but not for you. I wasn't saying that. And yeah, have a great rest of the day, and do that little thing. You know, wash the dishes, sort your room out, go shopping for some healthy food, and make a nice dinner for yourself that's got some good fruit and veg in it. And don't worry so much about getting everything done straight away, because it can wait. Yeah? Right. This is like an action-packed movie. Whoa! Yeah. Okay. I think we've done it.